So before we get started on the tutorial on how to upcycle this men's dress shirt into an off-the-shoulder tunic, let me apologize for having the camera the wrong way. I am so sorry. I am out of practice. I apologize. I know it should be landscape and not portrait. I hope you can still see enough detail that you find this tutorial interesting and helpful. Hi everybody. So today I'm going to be giving you a very quick tutorial on how to upcycle a men's dress shirt that you've pulled from maybe your husband's closet or you found in a local thrift store and turn it into a really cute little on or off shoulder little top. I am wearing one right now. Give me a moment and I will show you another one that I just recently made. It's on my mannequin right here. Hold on. And here is the back. I love the patchwork panel. It mixes so beautifully with the yellow and white gingham. Before I get started, I have to say thank you to someone. Her name is Aaronica Cole. If you are not familiar, I will put, she has a wonderful YouTube channel on here. I will add that link below. And I actually found her on TikTok. And she did a very brief video showing how she did this with some of the shirts that she stole out of her husband's closet. I took what I learned from her and then I did a little adapting for myself. So, but anyway, be sure to check her out as well. She does some fantastic work. And if you love to sew, you might want to also check out her pattern that she's created. It's the No Me line. Definitely check out her pattern. So let me show you what you'll need to do this tutorial. Of course, you're going to need a men's dress shirt. I found that one at our local thrift store for, I don't know, $5. You're also going to need some material to make the panel out of, and I'm going to use this beautiful blue georgette. You're going to need some elastic, some coordinating thread, scissors, thread snips. Actually, that's kind of optional. And you're definitely going to need a tape measure or a ruler. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to lay your shirt out like this. And you're going to take your tape measure or your ruler, take it to the very top of the neck like this, and you're going to measure down about 3 to 3.5 inches. Now, this is going to put us really, really close to where that button, that top button is. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it down to, I'm probably going to take it down to 4 because we're going to have to turn that into, that buttonhole is going to get added into the casing for the elastic. So let's go ahead and I put a little bit of chalk and just make a little mark right there. Okay, so the next step, take your shirt. Easiest if you just fold it in half. Make sure that you line up the shoulder seams, okay? And I'm going to put the cup from the top in because it's just easier. There we go. Now, if you need to, you could use a gem clip or something just to hold that in place. But mine is staying in place pretty well. Here's the mark. Right here is the mark that I made. So I'm going to start just on the outside of the shoulder seam about 1 inch. And I'm just going to free cut in a semicircle and then come straight across where I made the mark. And so then you end up with this left over. So we'll just set that aside. And now our shirt looks like this at the top. Okay, so now that we have this done, we're actually going to just sit the shirt aside for a moment and we're going to grab the fabric that we're going to make the insert with. Now, this particular piece of fabric is, let's measure the width of it. There we go. It's got beautiful drape to it. This is roughly 19 inches wide. The length, this is going to be way too long, obviously, but the length is just going to end up being the length of your shirt. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to, I like to find the center on the fabric first, like this. So it doesn't hurt to have some pins. Although you really don't have to have pins, but it's a good idea to have pins. So add that to your list of things you need. It's getting fiddly. There we go. So one thing about this beautiful Georgette, it has great movement to it, but it can be fiddly. Okay. So now we know where the center is. You can still see the pin right there. So the easiest thing to do is to just fold in. Let's see, we're going to go, let's start from here, center, and go 1, 2, 3, and just fold in. And do it again, 1, 2, 3, fold in. And you can decide how many inches you want to go before you fold the fabric in. So you're just going to pull that all together. I'm just going to use a second pin just to hold that in place. There we go. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect. So there we go. Now what you're going to do is you're going to stitch across here just to hold those gathers in place. Now, as you can see, I stitched across the top, I trimmed off the frills, and if you lay it out, you can see that I have a really pretty gathers. Okay, so now you're going to take your shirt and you're going to lay it out with the back of the shirt facing up. Now, before we cut down the center, what we want to do is determine how much material we are going to need. So we're going to take what we just made, the gathered up panel. I'm just going to hold it into the center of the shirt. You might want to pin or clip it in place while you measure. Now I measure too long because I know I could always cut it off, right? So this is an art, not an exact science. At least it is in my home. If you're an exact science person, good for you. I'm not. Okay, so let's see how many inches that is. So I can feel the shirt underneath there. It is 27.5 inches. I am going to cut it. I'm going to cut it at 29 and a half. So let me just put a pin in right there. There we go. I will unpin it from the shirt. There we go. Let's lay our shirt aside. And since this is already pinned, we will go ahead and cut it now because that way we can see right where we have to go across. Now I'm going to cut mine straight. You can cut yours at an arc if you want to or not. I'm going to have enough left over that I can trim it once I get it inset into the shirt so that it blends right into the hemline of the shirt. You will see what I mean in a little bit. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's lay our shirt back out. There we are. And we are going to measure from inside shoulder seam, oops, this way. We're going to measure from shoulder seam to shoulder seam. Make sure it's laid out straight. So it's 20 inches. So 10 inches is our center. I'll put a pin right there. Now when you're doing this, be careful not to cut the front of the shirt too. Although you probably won't have to worry about that too much because right on the other side is where the button placket is and all the buttons, so you won't get very far. Grab your scissors Now you can pin or draw a straight line all the way if you want to, but I have a little bit easier of a time because my shirt is striped going this way, so I know I need to cut right on this green stripe right here, and so that's what I'm going to do. If your shirt doesn't have stripes, you might want to pin down a straight line down the back or draw a straight line down the back. And we are almost to the end. There we go. So now we are ready to now put the inserts in the shirt. So I guess before we move forward, we should talk about what kind of machine you're going to use. You can use a standard sewing machine for this project, or you can also use a serger. I use a combination of both. I like to use a serger to finish my ends, and then of course my sewing machine to do most of the assembly. So let's say you don't have a serger. It is possible to do this entire project with just a sewing machine. Now, let me show you a little secret. Georgette is beautiful. It is an unnatural fiber, which is in this instance really good because it can really fray a lot. So when you need to finish your ends, like before you're hemming and things like that, and you don't want them to unravel on you, you can add fire. Just hold it close enough and you'll see it will melt the ends just perfectly and finish it so that when you do fold it over to hem it, you don't have to worry about it unraveling on you later on, like when you're washing it or just wearing it, you know, from day to day. So what I want to be doing is I'm going to be using my serger just to kind of finish off some ends, but I'm going to use my sewing machine to actually assemble the garment all together. So inserting the panel, I am going to do the sleeves. So, you know, you have to do this with a sewing machine. You can't do that with a serger. So I'm just going to use my serger, like I said, just to kind of finish some ends, and then I will use my standard sewing machine for the rest. So now let's get started back on finishing our new tunic. First thing you're going to want to do is turn your shirt inside out so that now you have the wrong side of the shirt facing out and the right side of the shirt facing in. I know with this particular shirt it's really hard to tell because of the way it's woven, but the reason you do that is it's going to make it easier to insert the little panel that you've created, because you want to make sure that you put right sides together. So the side with the pretty fold in it, the pretty gathered, you're going to put that face down so that it is facing on the correct side of the shirt. You're then going to pin right sides together, both sides, all the way down on the shirt. Now hopefully you can see this. I tried to use yellow pins so that you can see how I pinned all the way down each side. So now I'm just going to, you can see it's how it's pinned on. I'm going to sew all the way down on either side. And I think because I'm going to actually serge this in. So if you're not going to use a serger, what I would do is use your sewing machine first on a straight stitch all the way down, and then follow up, and on the seam allowance just do a narrow zigzag stitch all the way down to finish the end. Now I will say this, because we're using Georgette, it is very, very slippery. So be sure that you are holding the fabric even as you're feeding it towards the machine, regardless if you're using a serger or if you're using a standard sewing machine, because you don't want to get done and realize that certain places where the fabric has not been sewn together. It's happened to me before. So let's get sewing. Okay, so now you should see your shirt should look like this. Hold on. Here we go. Got the panel all put in. Right? All right, so now we're going to lay this back out on the table, and we are going to, well, you know what? My shirt, because it's linen, is really starting to fray. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and serge all the way around the top of this, just so I can get rid of all of those. If you don't have a serger, you might want to go ahead and zigzag stitch all the way around the top, or you could also use a pair of pinking shears, and that way it'll be a little bit neater when you go to roll this over to make the casing for the elastic that goes around the top. So I'm going to do that, and I will meet you back here on the cutting table. So here is the back of the shirt. This is the outside. Look how pretty that is. The gather in the center turned out beautifully. So now what you're going to do is lay your shirt out like this. You're going to start at one end. I'm going to start on this side around the top, and you're going to fold back a channel. See, this is the outside of the shirt. There's the pocket. So you have the wrong side facing up, and you're going to fold all the way around to make a little channel to put the elastic. So grab your pins. See, my buttonhole ended up on the inside, which is why I had cut it that way. Here we go. All right, so we're going to, here we go. So do that all the way around the shirt, and then once you get it pinned, you're just going to stitch that all the way around on your sewing machine, so that you end up, make sure you have both ends open like this. So you want to have both ends open of the placket. Okay? All right, meet me back here. Okay, so once you get that channel sewed all the way around the shirt, like I said, from placket to placket, we're getting really close to being done. So the next thing you want to do, now you can either take a tape measure and kind of stretch around your shoulders to get a measurement, or you can do what I do, grab my elastic, and I unroll some, like so, and then I wrap it around shoulder to shoulder until I kind of get a feel for what I like as far as tightness, you know, stretch. I like mine to be a little loose because I like to be able to wear it off and on the shoulder, but I don't want it to like pop up like around my neck. So let's do a little measurement. Let's see. And you're going to want to leave a little extra because you are going to have to sew it at the end. Okay, so that feels pretty good to me right there. So let's measure and see how much elastic I am using. So there's 24. Actually, you know, I'm going to snip this real quick. Yes, I injured myself. I went to cut the button off the shirt and I cut my finger. So 24, 48, probably about 48 and a half inches. I wear typically a size 14, 16. So this will be enough. Now, what are you going to do with this elastic? You are going to, hold on, let me find my, you're going to grab a safety pin that you know will fit in the channel that you just sewed. Take your safety pin, put it on the end of your piece of elastic, and then you are going to use this safety pin to feed the elastic all the way around your shirt. Now, don't let it go popping inside. Once you have fed it through, make sure you mind where the end of this thread is. In fact, sometimes it's not a bad idea to take a second safety pin, and the side you're starting on, safety pin it to the placket or a piece of, you know, whatever you're feeding that elastic through, because that way you don't have to worry about it. There's nothing worse than feeding that elastic and all of a sudden having to just shoot right into the tube and you have to start all over again. So let's get our elastic fed all the way through, come back here, and we'll go to the next step because we're getting really close to being done. So I do want to show you one thing. If with your gathered section in the back, you go to feed through and you can't get through, it happens to me sometimes too, especially with the Georgette material. I will unpick that part and just carry the elastic around. Then once I'm done, fold it over and sew it, which I'm kind of glad I did this time because I had used white thread. It goes all the way around, and so it looked kind of funny against the dark navy blue. So I've got my elastic fed all the way through. So now all I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this navy blue part over and sew it down so that it just continues the channel. So if you have to do that, go ahead and do it. It does make things easier than sitting there trying to fight that safety pin through. Once you do that, the next thing you're going to do, as you can see, I've got you're going to hold the elastic in place and you're going to stitch up the side of that placket 2 or 3 times to hold the elastic in place and to close that off. So let's do that and we'll meet back here. Okay, and so now we are this far, the front, very nice and stretchy, and the back, isn't that pretty? Now, I'll be honest with you, when I started pulling my through, I did end up removing, from the 48 inches, I ended up removing that much, so that is 5 inches, so I only needed 48 inches worth of elastic for myself. So you can always take it out and tighten it up. So now, the next thing we need to do is deal with this extra hanging off of the bottom of the shirt. So I'm going to show you what I do. It's really easy. Actually, I'm going to turn it this way. Okay, so what you're going to do is lay your shirt out so that you can see the inside of the bottom of the hem. Okay, hold on and I will move the camera around for you. There we go. So you can see this is the inside, this is the outside, this is the trim. So all I'm going to do, see how when I did my serge, I kind of came down a little further. So what I'm going to do, and what you can do, just measure down. Where's the top of the tape measure? There it is. Okay. So measure down from the edge of the hem that's on the shirt. I would measure down, I would say 1 inch. And cut that. This shirt has a rounded, but I am going to kind of just do just a very, very faint round shape to it. I'm going to try to pretty much cut it straight across. But I want to bring it down about 1 inch. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to serge the very, very end, fold it up twice, and hem it so that it's right in line with the hem on the shirt. If you don't have a serger, remember at the very beginning where I showed you to use the flame? You can do that, or you can run a zigzag stitch. Run a zigzag stitch around the bottom, fold it up twice so you make sure that you line up with the hem of the shirt, and then you can just run a straight stitch around to hem it, or instead of a zigzag, like I said, use your lighter and just barely singe those ends. It will keep it from fraying. So I'm going to mark this right here at 1 inch. And I'm going to do it from this end, 1 inch. And then I am going to get cutting. So meet me back here. Okay, and here we are. The hem is all in line, the new part with the old part. So it's perfect. Now, the next thing you can do, if your shirt lines up like this one, where you have a button here and then nothing, I saved the button that I took off, so I think I'm just going to hand sew that button on there, and then on the back side just put a little snap. Let me show you very quickly by looking at the shirt, the one I'm wearing. Okay, so if you look at the one I'm wearing, you can see I have the button right here, because this is where the button already was, but I had a lot of gappage up here like that. So all I did was just add a little snap, and it works great. So, and it'll work fine on this too. So I'll just put the button on the outside frillix, and then I'll put a little snap on the inside. Now, the other thing is, if you don't have to do that, and you like the long sleeves, then you're done. And it's really cute even with long sleeves. I, however, let me move you back a little bit. I like the long sleeves on some, but I also like the idea of having the little romantic puffy sleeve. So I want to show you how to do that, because I think I would really like it on this one. So let me show you basically the final step. So if you like the long sleeves, like I said, you're done. But if you'd like to add the puffy sleeves, let me show you what I do. So you have the cuff of the shirt here, okay? We have the cuff. And then you have this part of the cuff right here. It ends in a little point. That little point is what I gauge, so I know where I'm going to cut. So I'm going to just freehand right across. I'm not going to actually hit that. I'm going to go just above it and cut straight across. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other sleeve. Okay. Now I am going to, because my material frays so badly, I'm going to serge across the top of this. If you don't have a serger, I would say just zigzag around the top. Or if your material doesn't unravel too badly, you could use pinking shears. So we're going to do that, and then, oops, we're going to turn it under like this, and we're going to create a channel around the bottom of the sleeve the same way we did around the neck, so that we can feed some more elastic. So it is finished, and hopefully yours is as well. So this, obviously this is the front, and I did add a hand sewed the button back on, and then just added the little snap closure like I did on mine. We have the puffy sleeves that come to just about the elbow. It's a wonderful linen. And then let me show you how the back turned out. There we go. And this shirt started out as a size large. It is now probably, hold on, it is now probably more of an extra large. So it's a great way to, if you have shirts that are too small, it's certainly a way that you can extend the size of your shirts. So anyway, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below, and I will be happy to answer any of them. So thank you for stopping by, and let me again apologize for having the camera facing the wrong way. I promise next time I will have it landscape and not portrait.